everybody. This is Tracy Swedlow, and this is Televisionation and the Swedlow Show. I am really excited to welcome some people here from the CLOWD Film Festival. One is Curt Doty, who is the founder of the CLOWD Film Festival, which is an Generative AI CLOWD Film Festival. And Michele, who is a creator in her own right, and she's now with a company called Moon World, and she also, does her own work. And I'm really excited to have you both here. We might welcome Jo Wallace if she's able to make it. So thank you so much, both of you. We're excited to talk about your work. Oh, and Jo's here.
Hi.
All right. Hi, Jo. Welcome to the show. We've already started.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Jo is from a company called Jellyfish, and she's the executive creative director, which is a brand company developing and working with Gen AI today as well. Anyway, we have so much to go into. Curt, why don't you tell us a little bit about the CLOWD Film Festival? And then tell me when you're done, I'm going to show them a very short trailer.
Okay, yeah. So CLOWD Film Festival is an AI film festival. We're a little different in that we don't have a city attached to our name, so we could park it anywhere, but I chose to park it in Southern California based on the success of AI on the lot, and there's a number of AI filmmakers there, and so I know there's a built-in audience. CLOWD spelled with a W also implies that it's crowdsourced as well as professionally judged, and I have to say that Jo and Marion are two of our female judges, of which there are a majority female judges on the panel. So happy about that. But it's our first year, and it'll premiere October 7 and 8 at a beautiful, majestic theater called the Alex Theater in Glendale, California, very near Los Angeles. And so we're excited about that. We're in the middle of the competition. Entries are due August 19, our final deadline. And, a new announcement that we have is that we're also starting a linear fast channel. It'll be on PS4, PS5, Apple TV, and Fire TV. And that will showcase all kinds of curated AI filmmakers from around the world. It'll be a really cool thing to be part of. The other thing is that part of the promise of our film festival is that we're taking it on the road. We're taking that film compilation and showing it in other major cities, starting first in Santa Fe, which is my new hometown, on October 27th at the Midtown Sky Cinema. And then, so those are, some important announcements. And that's really what the festival is. We're excited to really celebrate the next evolution of cinematic storytelling with this technology. And we're really focusing on the narrative and not the sensation and the titillation that has been a part of that experimentation phase. So we're really looking for storytellers.
Okay, with that, why don't we quickly look at a short film that will tell you a little bit more about the CLOWD Film Festival.
What if cities breathed like forests? What if oceans healed themselves? What if energy was limitless? And hunger became history? What if machines didn't replace creativity, but expanded it? What if imagination became our most valuable resource? And what if you could show us? If you can visualize your thoughts right now, make a short AI film, 2 to 11 minutes, a vision, a possibility, a future worth sharing. Enter the CLOWD AI Film Festival.
Okay. Oops. There we all are. Okay. There we are. Okay. We're back. Thanks so much, everybody. I'm still getting used to this platform a little bit. So much to go into today, and perhaps we should ask the question first, which is that we've seen Gen AI, evolve from an experimental curiosity into a powerful creative medium. And independent artists are emerging and producing cinematic work from their laptops, and brands are partnering directly with AI creators. Agencies are rethinking production pipelines, and film festivals are emerging, like CLOWD, to recognize an entirely new generation of storytellers. So those are some of the issues that I wanted to discuss today. And exactly, why AI isn't just another creative tool. How is it fundamentally changing filmmaking and storytelling? So definitely welcome to TelevisionAtion again. And Marion, would love to hear a little bit about you. You're an AI creator and you're working with Moon World, but you've been doing all kinds of projects.
Yes.
Tell me, I would love to show a clip at some point of your work. Just tell me, I would like to show the Birdwatcher just quickly. When you're ready, just tell me when.
Okay, cool. Just quickly about me. I am a writer and AI filmmaker. I'm based out of Los Angeles. But, I came into this world a little differently. I actually was in advertising for like over 10 years as a copywriter. But I've always loved stories. I've always kind of like studied stories, been curious about them. And so when AI technology came out, I was like very quick to adopt to it and really just try to tinker. I'm almost like notorious tinkerer. That's like what I'm always doing. And so I just started to create my own stories. And yeah, the Birdwatcher was one that I had finished in, it was only like maybe 2 weeks or so, but it was for a competition for Curious Refuge, which I am a student at. I've taken a few of their classes, just love them. And it was their AI feel good competition that ended up getting audience favorite and be just like one of the ones that I thought were really well received. And it really was a great start to people noticing my work. And that's why I was saying with even CLOWD, like it's important to put your films in competitions because it can really help just get your name out as a filmmaker.
I'm just going to touch this and play it briefly just so people can see. Okay, so there's so much more to see. It's an absolutely beautiful piece.
Beautiful
and it's stunning. And as I was saying to Curt before the show, it's so nice to see Gen AI films telling stories rather than just killing all the time. I can't tell you how I appreciate that. So I'm eager to hear more about you in just a moment, but let's meet Joe just for next. Joe Wallace, who is the Executive Creative Director of Jellyfish. And welcome, Joe. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I've worked in advertising for over 25 years now. And like Marion, I began as a copywriter, and I've always been about the big idea, how to bring that to life. I then spent many years also directing. So whether that was commercials that I'd written, also short films. And I think what's really interesting for me is that judging lots of both non-AI based competitions and also AI based competitions, what really stands out to me is that the best work is fundamentally being produced by people that have that creative background. So they're either a director, writer, producer, editor. In some way, shape or form, they've honed their craft. And then they're able to apply that using AI as a tool and being able to really get great results from it. I think fundamentally, Gen AI just allows us to take our creativity and really kind of push it to the max. And I also share your thoughts around lots of them can be quite dystopian or violent based. I'm not quite sure why that is, but I think the brilliant thing about Gen AI as a creative is that it allows you to do these things that back in the day when I was trying to do a short film, I'd have to pull a ton of favors from people to help me make that. And there's nothing quite like that crew and that feeling of making something as a team. But what's great about Gen AI is that ability to get into what you want to create. And as long as you've got that vision, and it's only as good as what people can put in, you can really fly and go places where to do something, for example, in a world that would have taken a whole set, which would be beyond the ability of maybe your budget. We can now look at those things and create those things, which I think is really exciting.
Well, I know from doing my own creative work, it's also that it allows you to have a more of an authentic vision of what you want. Because as much as I love collaborating, and sometimes the best ideas come from working with all those other people, sometimes you can get off the rails and distracted and onto somebody else's agenda. I mean, sometimes. Curt, do you want to say something, or?
No, go ahead and ask away.
Okay, so I'm curious how and when all of you discovered Gen AI, and was this a moment of epiphany? Did you realize this was going to change your life? Was this just another creative tool, or did you feel it fundamentally was going to change your work?
Yeah, well, like Joe, I come from the branding and marketing and advertising world, creative director for 30 plus years, cough. So I've always been creative, but always doing other people's work. I worked in entertainment and marketing movies for 10 years. And that was always telling little stories about the big stories, which was the film. And it was always the director's vision, cut up into little snippets that, with the creative process known as trailers, telling those little stories, which is an art form. But when Gen AI came out, specifically video, it was amazing to think about the possibilities, and that how personal creativity and expression could be reached with a freedom that had never been available before. And so all of a sudden there's a world of storytellers out there that can now tell their stories, and I find that most exciting. And so initially I was the AI consultant on just helping companies get over the fear of AI. And then once video started to take off, I said, I really want to be part of the creator community, because that's my tribe. I'm creative, and it's like, those people are cool people, and I want to hang out with them and support them in their efforts. And that was really the birth of CLOWD and what I wanted to do with all that, with all these new connections and friends that I'm making, and support amplifying, new voices in this world of AI.
Marion?
Yeah. Well, for me, I had once like Midjourney came out, I was adopting it right away. I was so excited about it. I also do photography, so like how I kind of also was excited about it, because I was like, oh, I could maybe take my unique photography style and like, can I make something new that like, I did a lot of like beach pastel photography, but like, what if it looked like in a mountain, or, whatever it was. And so for me, I pretty much grasped on right away, never let go. So it's been fun to learn the tools and see how they've progressed. And yeah, for me, I've just kind of been all in since the very beginning.
Joe?
Yeah, I think it feels like it kind of was such a big deal when it first came along, and we're going back like a couple of years now. Like in my agency, as you mentioned, I work for Jellyfish, which is part of the brand tech group, and we've always been really AI forward. So I think we kind of got quite ahead of the curve quite early on when everyone was slightly scratching their heads around how you use this. We were already kind of going into using a proprietary tool that we have called Pencil, for example, where all the tools within that platform, and we can go from brief to creation, we can localize at scale really fast. And I think it's really just become an amazingly useful tool for us, where it allows us to showcase the idea to clients in a way that previously that would have just been me or the team like trying to Photoshop something, cobble something together, which was always so painful. And you'd have to kind of say, use your imagination. And not everybody has such an imagination. So what's really wonderful is not to say that it's, there's no magic button, but what we're able to do now is really more showcase the idea as we intend it, as we see it. We can put the vision behind the idea much more. Even if that's an activation in real life, because obviously as we move into a more digital world, people are also craving real life connections and spontaneous events. So it depends what we're doing with it. But I think across the board, we're very much using AI to bring things to life, whether that's initially, whether that's at the whole piece is an AI generated piece. But yeah, and then personally, I've used it a lot. As I mentioned, I was a director, so I got to playing with it pretty early on. So when VO3 first came out, I just kind of made a silly little short film, and it's just exciting to be able to get your hands dirty with it and make stuff, as you were saying. You don't need to necessarily rely on other people, but you can very much then put your creation out there. And it's interesting when it gets great traction. It's really an exciting tool to be able to use.
So you're working still in concert with a group of people because you work with the agency, Jellyfish. But Marion, you're a solo creator. But at what point are you finding that moment of real creativity and inspiration? Is it in the editing process, the storyboarding process, in the prompting process? Where are the happy accidents happening that allow you to create a vision that's completely different than everybody else?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, they happen everywhere. So that's kind of the fun of it, where I love character designing. So that's some of the times which I go to first is like after I write something, I'll go into the character designing. And for me, that's where things really start to feel real and fun. And then, also sometimes with like the prompting, I've tried so many different types of prompts to see what really works the best of what I'm trying to envision. And it really just depends on like the platform that you use, the amount of time, like the duration, and also just sometimes testing a few things out. Sometimes prose works really well. I know it's really popular right now to do like a storyboard, and it's like broken down by the millisecond. And so it's been a really fun process for me. And yeah, so I did start out as an independent creator. And right now I've moved into actually a new role at Moon World, where I am working with a team as we're making a feature length, the kind of Pixar style animation film. And for us, it's actually quite a hybrid approach. We have an artist that's helping make the visuals. I had just flown to San Francisco, where I had 2 recording studios for sessions, for voice actors that we're going to use. And so it's been a really fun, interesting project or time to see someone go from an independent creator to someone working on like an actual, feature length film. So it's an exciting time.
Joe, did you want to answer that? Or I have a question about working with clients.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer whichever question.
Okay. Also, I'm curious, now both of you are working with, trying to create other pieces that are in concert, I suppose, but you're working specifically with clients. Are they asking for something specific today? And now that people are becoming more aware of what Gen AI is, that it's there, that it's possible, are you getting requests for this to help save money? I mean, what is their thinking about this? Or they just want the creative, and then you're delivering a solution using Gen AI? What's the process?
I mean, I think there's a whole scale, as with everything. There's clients that are fully into AI and really want to adopt it and are running with it to great effect. And then there are clients that are much more about, we recognize that our consumer wants a more authentic, human-based world. So we work with all of them across that spectrum. And I think the reality is that obviously AI has made executing things cheaper and faster in many ways. And I think the great advantage there is that it puts the value back onto the power of the idea. And I did a presentation to my global team of 400 or so people recently, where it's very much about, there is a huge value now in the power of the idea and the creative vision and the expertise and that ability to bring that craft and the storytelling to really land something that moves people. Because we hear a lot about slop, obviously, and I think it's fair to say that we had a lot of slop even before AI. People were making slop with the tools that we had previously, but it's very much a talking point right now. But yeah, I think it comes down to, what are you trying to achieve? And if you're trying to achieve something where you really move people, then you've got to obviously combine the best of human expertise and vision and brilliance with the best of AI. But I think coming out of Cannes Lion like a couple of weeks ago, the defining sort of things that came out of that were that, yes, there's a lot of talk about AI still, but we're really looking in a space where we're seeing that value of that power of the idea and the creative people behind it, which is great news for creative people because it's kind of underlining that value of human creativity, which right now, at least, it's very difficult to prompt for taste. That's something that remains at this point in time anyway, very much a human aspect of the craft.
I have heard that word used a lot lately in the context of Gen AI. People are using the word taste, which is basically the ability for someone to make a decision about what's good and what's not good. And since you all of you are going to be judges at this film festival, and Curt, you get to see hundreds of Gen AI films, I'm curious, what is standing out in the work that you're seeing and in your own work with brands? What is what emerges to move people?
Yeah, long before AI, there was this battle between a digital campaign and a brand campaign, and one was data driven, one was emotionally driven. And I've always leaned towards the human aspect of storytelling and connecting emotionally with an audience. And so that same kind of migration and evolution has happened with this moving from experimentation to narrative storytelling. And so the movies that have been coming in that resonate the most with me are focused on the story, and then all of a sudden the technology just falls away and you get into the story and the character and there's an emotional connection. And it's like, okay, well, that's what cinema does. That's what great storytelling does. And that's what we need to focus on. And like Joe was saying, and like you were saying, Tracy, is that in the hands of real professionals, people who have been an editor, a copywriter, a producer, director, creative director, using these tools, who have 10, 20, 30 years experience, those are the people that are going to take this technology to the next level because they have the taste. I call it the aesthete. I've used that word a lot because it's a little more enigmatic. And so, and creativity is enigmatic. I mean, it's special and mysterious. And so, those who have the aesthete have an advantage over the hacks who just are wowed by the technology and they pump out something that looks good enough. And unfortunately, good enough isn't enough to elevate the platform, let alone connect emotionally with an audience that is dubious about where this is going. And that's the other thing. There's an audience split in terms of whether it's fake or authentic, right? There's that pendulum swing. And in the industry of Hollywood, generally, there's still a divide between haters and, the embracers. So meanwhile, storytellers from all over the world are honing their craft, and these new stories are being amplified on social media and YouTube and all these things other than the cinematic screen experience. And so let's give them a platform. Let's give them a way to rise up and work maybe in tandem with Hollywood or not. But the fact is, there's new storytellers, and let's hear their stories. That's what's most fascinating to me.
So, but back to the word taste and aesthete. My daughter has been calling all of this, not related to Gen AI, but I think the kids call it aesthetics. What's the aesthetic of something? It's interesting, these words floating through this culture. Yeah. So, Marion, I'm curious, since you are a creator, what's elevating the art for you? Do you see any other creators that you admire, or is there a style, or is there a type of storytelling? I mean, what do you think is really high quality?
I have a lot of people that I look up to. I'm really loving all the different animation styles I'm seeing. Some of them are just utterly unique, and it goes back to finding your own voice that we talked about a little bit earlier. Whereas, before, even if you worked on a team, I mean, it's great to work on a team, but if you do an independent project too, you have that full creativity where you can really find specific to you what, and kind of sell yourself on it, but create something that you really want that's unique and authentic to you. And I love seeing all the different styles, and it's like, oh, wow, I could never do that. I could never do that. And it's showing something that you don't think that you could do with a tool that everyone has. And I mean that to say it goes back to your unique personality. Like, only you can do that. And that's what I really find inspiring in this space. Another thing I like to see, and why I feel like it's so good, is because it's bringing in this new wave of storytellers telling all their different stories, and it's low risk in a sense. Whereas before, if you had to go out and shop around or really try to get someone to buy and sell your idea, it was so expensive. That's why we saw the same superhero movie again and again and again, is because it was low risk to them. And now with these tools, those unique personalities, unique styles, and unique storytellers can really have a chance to tell their story. And that's what I really look up to. And I've seen a handful of creators I super admire because they're doing that.
Anybody come to mind that you want to?
Kevin the Kid is great. And then Henry, blanked on his last name. He just did like the Junkyard series, and he has another one. And his unique style is just like, I love his animation style and his storytelling. So those are two of my tops right now.
I just did an interview with Kevin while at the Magnific conference. So stay tuned for that to come out on this channel. Stay tuned. Anyway, Joe, I'm curious, like all of these AI creators, they're all talking about how are we going to make money. Some of them are going to want to work in the advertising business. And are you being approached? And if so, who would you want to hire? What kind of styles are you're interested in, or what kind of skill level are you looking for? Is that happening? That kind of cross transference of talent into the advertising universe? I know that agencies are using it. So how do you find really talented people?
Yeah, I think the whole kind of landscape of what we now look to hire within agencies has changed. And I think that there was a short while where people were kind of like, oh, we're going to get someone that can do everything. They're going to have the idea, they're going to prompt the idea, they're going to edit the idea, they're going to make the idea. And I think whilst there are people that can do that, it's not necessarily the way that if you're working in a collaborative space, that's necessarily going to get you there in the best possible way. I think it still needs a team of people. So you might still have people that ideate, but they very much understand AI. And for example, when I was talking about our pencil tool, we have this node-based design process. We have workflows where essentially we'll create an idea in potentially you could say the typical way where humans are thinking about ideation, but using AI created insights where we're getting much more insights that we're able to work with. And that's the joy of the speed of that ability to look for those cultural truths, human truths, but very much with the eye of humans across that. And then coming up with ideas and then moving into this space where it's a little like fig jam, but everybody is then in that space and you're able to see in real time each of the team kind of working things up, commenting on things, pushing it forward, making sure it is as good as it possibly can be. So it's still that process of making sure you're elevating the work to the maximum level, but you're able to iterate and work on this in real time within these workflows. And then obviously kind of pushing that out to the final asset, depending on what that happens to be. But yeah, I think it's a really exciting time for creators, whether you're working independently, whether you're working as a team. There is so much ability to really just get involved and make things. And I think AI has that ability to just kind of elevate and bring some real magic to what we can do. And especially if you're looking to create a world or an idea that maybe there isn't that world that exists, you can't just go and shoot that easily, but you can now create that. And I think, as we were talking about, that's that unique kind of view on something, whatever tool you're using. It's really interesting to see what different people bring to it. And it's just really an exciting time, I think, for creativity. And of course, there is still so much controversy around it. But I think if you look at it as a creative and the ability to make amazing stuff, there is so much potential there.
Gen AI creators, obviously, when they put a piece out, it's Gen AI. But the advertising community, I think, is still, they're inconsistent about whether or not they state on the screen whether it was made with Gen AI. What's your opinion about that?
I think it's still a bit of a grey area. I mean, we're kind of in this space where people are looking to governments to bring in certain legislation around it. And I think, in all honesty, I can't see a world where they're able to make a one-size-fits-all rule around this. I think it's a very difficult space. But at the same time, I think consumers are becoming much more savvy towards this. Lots of consumers, they don't necessarily want a lot of different kind of AI slop. But if you're kind of celebrating that this is AI and you're making that clear, then at least we can all engage with it in a way that we're all kind of on that same, we know where we're coming from. Clearly, there is an issue around fakes and what does that mean for the reality of truth in a world where truth is becoming difficulter and difficulter to actually ascertain. So there is definitely a lot of grey space around that. But if you're making things that are kind of clearly exceptionally different from the average everyday world, then it's going to be obvious that it's AI. But when things become quite close to where we actually live, I think these things become more difficult to pull apart. And that's very much a world where I don't know what the answer is, if I'm completely honest.
I don't think none of us do. Curt, do you guys have a requirement to state the tools that you're using across all of these films when they're...
Yeah, they need to list their tech stack. And we encourage that from a hybrid approach to use a minimum of 75% AI tools. That means 25% of it could be human. That means a human voiceover, a human written script, or human actors. It's whatever makes it, but we're encouraging a hybrid approach. Although you can go 100% AI if you want, we're just saying the future is hybrid. So kind of figure it out. Use our themes as a challenge. We have 6 different themes, and find your niche in those themes, and then create under those specs, and it'll align with what most people are doing anyway. But we want to keep it human. We want it to be a human and AI collaboration, and challenge yourself. Like, well, what about this idea is human? It's a question when you're faced with the blank prompt or working with an agent, it's like, what do you want to create? It has to be an answer. So we're just saying, think about that and be deliberate in what you're setting out to do. And please consider that human element, because we never want to lose that. Creatives are still driving all of this. It doesn't happen magically. There is someone prompting and coming up with an idea to actually achieve an outcome that they have preconceived, and they're trying to match that preconception or be open to those happy accidents that happen. But, so that's how we're approaching it in terms of some of the rules.
Marion, are you using a whole string of tools one at a time? Have you invented a new platform? There's a lot of people out there who are creating their own platforms in the absence of trying to understand some of the complex sort of spaces or canvases or things like that the existing tools are offering. I don't know what your work process is, but I'm curious if do you need something complex like that? And Joe, I'd like to find out if you have an answer for that as well. Marion?
Yeah. Right now, my goal with these films is not only to tell a good story, but also to learn the tools. And there's always a new tool coming out. So I'm constantly testing it. I have my one editing software that I use to put it all together. But whether it's Runway, Higgsfield, Open Art, Dramina, like I am testing them all. And I'm just trying to see what produces the best results. And then on top of that, actually at Moon World, where I'm at now, we have our own platform that we're using. So we're drawing in the different APIs into that one platform and building it all there, whether, other like Canvas workspaces as well. And so it'll be, I think it's going to be really great and important to have something like that, especially for something as, grand as a movie, because organization is really important. You have a ton of assets and, they can get lost in the mix of, your computer desktop. But I think pulling it all into one platform, really learning it is probably the best way to go. But for the past couple of years, I've honestly just been testing them all. Yeah.
Joe, are you working with a homespun platform, or have you assembled things, or what's your tech stack strategy?
Yeah, I mean, at Jellyfish, as I mentioned, we have Pencil, which is our proprietary tool. But within that, we have every kind of model within one platform. So everything from Google Gemini, which includes Nano and all of the VO models. We have Imagine in there, Runways in there, all of the OpenAI things, Adobe models. So I think it's a case of you need to work out what kind of a look you're aiming for. Like some of those models, or tools, they're going to create something that looks a bit more AI, or some are going to be more sympathetic to being more authentic. And I think it depends on what it is that you're trying to create, and then using those accurate platforms for what that look tends to be. And I speak to lots of filmmakers in the AI space, and everyone's got their slightly different preferences. And I think that's the wonderful thing about this. It's a tool in the same way that some people prefer watercolor to gouache paint, for example. It's like, what do you prefer, and what's going to make your creation sing in the way that you really want it to?
I've seen also some experimentation out there providing a sort of unseen tool. That's not the right way to put it, but there's a tool out there that allows people to create their own stories just by, talking it. So the viewer could say, I want a story that does this, 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 and this, or start me off on a story that has, love in it, and maybe there's a fight. And, in other words, the AI will then dynamically live create a story for them. How do you guys feel about that? Because to some extent, that's going to remove the craft of the creator who creates a vision and allow the viewers to kind of vibe code their own stories or their own commercials. Is that a TV of tomorrow? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think there's sorry, go ahead, Curt.
Yeah, I just want to say that in a hybrid approach, the easiest human aspect is the writing. This whole notion of any output from a Gen AI platform is not ownable. at this point. So those people creating IP, whether it's a TV show or a movie, they need to work on the front end to make sure they're developing their characters and their writing and their story in a documented fashion, and registering it with the WGA, as well as copywriting characters, doing all that hard work before you enter the Gen AI platform. That is my recommendation. That's how I'm working. I'm working on a microdrama right now, as well as 2 other movies. And so I'm making sure that, we cover ourselves and document what is the human approach, because in a court of law, they're going to ask for the proof. Well, why should you own these characters? Why should you say, even though you use Gen AI, why should you own these storylines, these plots? And so you need to document it. And that's, keeping journals and, dating the journals and taking pictures of pages when you wrote it. I mean, I always feel you need to think of what you're going to say in front of a court to defend your property. Okay. And when you put that mindset on, it changes how you feel about the convenience and the magic aspect of these platforms. But you can still do it the right way, and things will get worked out in court in terms of, maybe the copyright laws will change in the future, but in the meantime, cover yourself and keep the human aspect alive and documented. And before you ever get into developing a character solely in one of these Gen AI platforms, because that won't hold up in a court of law.
Curt, you're so practical, because anybody who actually does that kind of work will definitely win. But for most people, asking them to do that kind of documentation is a story killer. It's a project killer, I think.
Yeah, but then they're going to lose out. They're going to lose out, in the long run.
I don't know. Marion, do you do that kind of documentation on your work?
I do. If it's something I have a few in progress that I want to do like an IP for, so I do that kind of background. But for my short films, I really don't. It's probably because I was just starting out. But it's interesting because I don't know if you were talking about what I think I just saw recently come out or was something in the works where, you could change the story. Like, say if you're watching a film or you just wanted to start one, and it will in real time like generate the film. Is that what you were talking about? Like you want them.
That's agentic. It's a agentic approach instead of prompting.
Yeah, no, I was more like, can the viewers at some point in the future, will the viewers be able to create their own shows just by talking out a story they're interested in? And I was asking you what you thought of that, because that might remove the role of the auteur, the creator auteur.
I think so. And I could be wrong. I feel like it's going to be like a fun party trick in the beginning. Like, some people might be like, this is kind of cool. But overall, like, if you go to sit down, you don't want to do the work of like figuring out where the story goes. You want to be entertained. So I really think, it's still going to be left to those people that actually want to do that. You might have a unique viewer who's like, oh no, I'm actually, I'm a creative and I want to try this out, and falls in love with it. But for the most part, people, they want things to be easy. They don't want to work when they're trying to like be entertained. So I could be wrong, but that's just my initial thought right now.
I'll say where that interactive storytelling is happening is in gaming. It always has happened.
Yeah,
and so that will just continue, right? And people love that. And it's like, that's where that interactive storytelling is. And
like the funny thing about that is, with gaming, it's one of the places where people will do the most work, right? Like the amount of time, hours put together in Call of Duty of people all around the world is fantastic and phenomenal. And that's like a platform you're going to see it on, but probably not people wanting to watch Bridgerton, and pick like to figure it out. But that's a really good point, Curt, like in gaming for sure.
I think it's like that saying that everyone has a book in them. Like, everyone could write a book, but do they write a book, and does anybody want to read that book is another matter. But I think there's also a real reality that the biggest names are really entering AI. So we've already seen that Netflix has bought Ben Affleck's company into Positive, which builds AI tools for filmmakers, and Martin Scorsese's recently joined that AI startup Black Forest as an advisor and using its tools to work on an upcoming project. And I think just a few weeks ago, Google DeepMind, they've announced a partnership with A24, and that's such a kind of revered platform, pushing out amazing big hits such as, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I think what's really interesting when you read into these partnerships is that what they're looking to do is really support filmmakers. So Google DeepMind are very much looking to get feedback and guidance from A24's impressive roster of artists, because they've recognized, I think, that what they need to do is work with these creators, with these creative minds, to bring their vision to life. So I think what's really heartening is that it isn't about these tools replacing human creativity. It's very much about it elevating them. And that's, I think, how those partnerships are beginning to work. But like it or not, AI has definitely entered the filmmaking process for sure.
All right, here's my last question for all of you. I'm going to give you 4 options. I'm writing the options down here right now. If somebody were to become an AI filmmaker going forward, they really wanted to do it, what advice, or which one of these things would you advise them to do first? One is writing their own original story, watching classic films, great films from the past and learning filmmaking, watching other AI films, or just starting and sit in front of a tool and start playing with it, start experimenting with it. What's the best advice to give new AI filmmakers if they want to get started?
For me,
go
ahead, Curt.
I say start with the writing. That's always been the process. Start with the writing, and then get into the whole process. But that would be my advice.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I mean, again, AI is only as good as what you put in. There's no magic button. It still comes down to having that great, unique, creative vision. And I think that can only come from within. And like with any art, any writing, any filmmaking, it's really, really key that you've got something that is unique and authentic and can move people, because unless you're going to move the audience, I don't think it's going to really cause a blip in anyone's life.
Yeah,
so
I say the same exact thing. And I honestly think it's helped me move so fast in this career because, I've only been copywriting 10, 15 years. I haven't been on sets. I haven't done any of those things. But what I have been doing, I've been studying story, reading books, writing my own stories down. So to me, this wasn't a new platform. It was new tools for me to actually do what I love to do. So I always say that as well. I'm like, man, I didn't waste all those, years in my books and in watching films. I really didn't waste that time. It has helped me progress so quickly in this field. So I definitely agree with both Joe and Curt.
Well, thank you so much for this nice, long, very informative, interesting interview. I really appreciate your time and your creativity and your dedication to the art and craft of Gen AI. I'm excited myself about where this is going. And thanks so much, Curt, for holding this film festival, which will be in October, so that you can showcase the best that's out there. And thanks, ladies, for being judges and for taking a sort of, a step forward to try to showcase the art and craft of Gen AI from a woman's point of view.
Amazing.
Much needed.
Much needed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm Tracy Swedlow. This is Television Nation. Thanks so much, Curt Doty, Joe Wallace, and Marion Michele. And stay tuned on this channel for more interviews going forward. Thank you.